Hello and welcome to the Sage of Tarn Alpha version 0.445, March-April 2020. So to follow up on last time, now with conditions and methods working correctly, allowing us to build and execute states as they should work, it's kind of time to move on to touching up on the animation and drawing, as well as looking maybe into a bit of user feedback. So that's kind of what I've been doing this time around. Although admittedly, I have primarily been working on the user feedback, as that turned into a little more of a rabbit hole than I hoped for. But I have also done a little bit of touch-up on the animation and drawing as well. So let's just jump into it. First things first, as you will have noticed, the player now has a full set of default sprites as well as their integration with the previous systems. What this basically means is that we can, when we scale him up, the sprites scale automatically with him. As you could maybe make him a little bit bigger. You will also see that he now has an individual sprite for each of his limbs, as well as those being, you know, the right side here is with the crosses, the other one is not, and these swap as they should. They are the correct depth level and all that sort of shit. They work for our standing animation, our running here, and as well as this one, the jumping. Those are the three that I have adjusted. Obviously, we're still missing the ones for all the intermediate animations, as well as adding additional intermediate states, but that's another thing. Let's see here, what else? Boom, 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 boom. I have adjusted the shaders. He's now no longer using the previous color shaders that he was before. I'm intending to make a shader that can just be a more generic one for now. I realized that the old version with the, you know, cutting out the shapes, while that's cool and I'm definitely going to use it for something else, I don't really need it for this. Like, this is kind of alright when it comes to it. And I kind of like it. Like, it looks a little... He's half inspired by the old design, if any of you remember that. Obviously with the new core in mind. And yeah, that's about it for the animation and stuff. We do have the texture scaling with the skeleton, which is good. But yeah, anyways, let's move on to the big problem. So a lot of the time when I've been testing people, they've been mentioning that whenever they find an edge like this and they're moving across it, they feel like they should continue their momentum and fly out over it. And I kind of agree. And the result of not having it caused a lot of users to just spam dodge constantly to move around because it was simply more effective. It didn't feel great whenever you walked over something. So I've been working on detecting exactly when this occurs, which involves a whole lot more than I have time to explain and a whole lot more than I want to explain. So I'll just show it off because it works. Whoop. That's basically it. I don't dodge on the thing. Whenever it's the perfect amount, it basically does it. It still needs a slight bit of adjustments. It doesn't do it on this one because it's too small. It does it on this one because it's big enough. It doesn't do it on this one because it's, you know, concave. Whereas these are convex. So I did a whole bunch of calculations, which especially gets really hairy when you have the curves, where you need to sort of approximate the angle here, and needless to say, that took way longer than expected. However, I now have a perfectly working condition with it, and I can use that condition for basically any unit, and it gives that correct feeling. I do want to adjust it ever so slightly so that it feels a little bit better. Sometimes it feels like it stops you a little bit. Again, the idea here is to make it feel as when I'm just pressing the stick right, or left in this case. Let's do it. When I'm pressing the stick right, that I just get the fluid movement across this very tacky landscape. I would say this one where, like, the angle is basically based on what you're standing on, right? So if I go up here, it will be more steep than on the other side, which makes me fly much more upwards. This feels like you're losing the horizontal momentum slightly, but those things can be adjusted fairly easily. Haven't done animations for this one, clearly. Never mind that. But yeah, that is basically the reason why I'm a little bit late this time around. I am expecting to just continue working on animations and still give you another update in about 2 weeks at the end of April still, just to get back on schedule. I did get pushed a little bit off schedule by the vacation to Greenland last time, as well as the whole coronavirus bullshit going on at the moment. Lots of family planning and all that sort of shit kind of goes completely haywire. No major bugs this time around. We do have this one thing that actually conveniently I can show right here. Now, I can technically move a little bit into the environment, and if I do it correctly, I can do this. I'm considering leaving this in, because this is a random occurrence that can only really happen when your dude can you know, push himself inside the thing, and I kind of want to allow it, because even if you let me see if I can do it. Grab? No. Because it's not that easy to pull off. I got really lucky apparently first time. Come on. Damn it. Okay, I can actually not replicate it. So it's not something that's super easy to replicate, and I kind of want to reward the players for exploring this type of bug in a sense. If they can find a skip somewhere because of the random seed that generates, kind of want to allow it. It does mean that I have to make a death box at the bottom, just in case they fall onto the map. So I'll need to look into that, but otherwise than that, it's kind of fine. Really like this. It makes it so much more fluid when you're just walking to the side. I'm still gonna work a little bit on the speed. I feel like the dash speed that I have with this dash is too high. It's still too efficient to just spam it. Also, I need to implement the thing that makes you able to not spam that. One more thing for this. Right now you go from standing still to walking to running like instantly. You can swap from standing to walking like by just, you know, instantly. This doesn't feel too great if I'm standing on top of one of these, because I can like instantly accidentally jump if I don't mean to. So I'll have to have some sort of intermediate between, like an intermediate state between running and walking, so that when you start walking, for a little bit of time you will do the intermediate and then you'll begin running, so that you would not like instantly be able to jump here, because it doesn't feel too great if you haven't noticed that you're standing on the spike just barely here. You will instantly like do that. This is the small adjustment play, which is fun in a sense, but also a little tedious. Gotta get that sweet spot feeling just right. As you will notice, these small dudes here, just as a side note, they also have their animations changed. They are actually still using the older shaders. Combined, however, with a new texture, it gives this really weird broken stone look for some reason. It's a little bit interesting. I've also messed around with the shots. They have a random set as well. This is looking really janky, actually. They're basically still these small dudes, just with another look. So you can kind of get two different units out of the same, which is good for reusing of assets and all that sort of shit. Should make it easier to do stuff. Am I going to jump on this tiny... I'm not sure if I just fall or if I jump. Also, you cannot jump off of these. I have considered making one. If there's a really, really spiky one, then you might want to do it. But it's not really needed, because no matter what type of spike you can get, you will be able to do it on a, you know, on this, with this hillside here, which, you know, you can narrow it in so it becomes more, you know, spiky, I guess. But yeah, there is one. Nope. I'm looking for one right now because it's random and we don't really know where one is. See if we can spot one if we speed around a little bit. Still really enjoy this. Well, the environment is pretty well shaped so that it doesn't actually make those super high extrusions. Something along this line, but just worse, basically. If you can imagine this one like spiking upwards and being more curved, you will be able to like just jump over those. Oh, did I hit one of the dudes? I must have. It barely passes over it. That one we jump on. This one don't. Oh, it's so nice to see it working, because my goodness, did I have to fight to get it to work. Alright. But anyways, speaking of other bugs, there aren't really any at the current moment, which is great. We still have the old pending versions, which is, yeah, basically, you know, the zooming, the sliding, the spawning on top of each other. I don't think that these are going to be an issue, but it's nice to keep them in mind for the future, just in case we get some reoccurrence of it. But yeah. Still some code restructuring and all that sort of jazz, as usual. I have been doing that a little bit as well. Restructuring like code structures so that it's easier. That's basically what I've been working on for the animations. Giving myself an easier overview, as well as doing the Excel arcs for each, so that I can easily overview what they do. The stuff is getting big enough to the point where it's worth doing, so... Oh, let's fly down into the lag hole. Oh, if I can, without getting bounced everywhere. But yeah, so anyways, thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe out there with Corona and all that sort of jazz, and yeah, see ya.